What I want to say, because so many people have said it already and I don't want to repeat. I apologize if I do because I came late. But I want to speak mostly about credibility. There were 3 questions that we needed answered during all the hearings that we attended last year. And the first one was if there was a need for this. We asked, as Falguni just said, we asked if there were any outages in the last few years and really didn't get a straight answer. I don't remember them even saying no. I just thought they didn't know. So they said there were icing incidents, which I think is a precursor. If they can't correct the icing, then they may have an outage. We asked them how many icing incidents there were, and we really didn't get a straight answer on that. So my question is, if they couldn't answer that, is there really a need? That was my thought about that. I also want to know who it will serve. Craig Sanders, other people have mentioned, who, I have his title, is the New Jersey Natural Gas Director of Pressure Movement and Transmission, had said way back in January of 2016 that this was going to be a major facility designed to feed city-level capacities. It was intended to serve Holmdel in the vicinity. He also said there was nothing in the facility that was intended to feed new development. So that confused me because the population in Holmdel hadn't gone up all that dramatically. So why did they need this big upgrade in 2012? Then in May, Nancy Skidmore, the attorney for New Jersey Natural Gas, said that the regulated station would feed other towns. And again, they repeated that it would feed other areas. So the story kept changing. They said in November that it was going to feed 5,832 meters, residential and commercial, in Holmdel. That's 98% of Holmdel. So I asked, actually at a few meetings, I had asked, what was the number of meters that they were going to serve completely? And they could never give me a straight answer. They kept saying, you'll find out, we'll get back to you. I think I asked it twice or 3 times, and then the next time they told me that that question had already been answered. And they kept questioning why I needed to know. And I said, if you're telling me how many people in Holmdel are served, I want to know how many people in total you want to serve so I can find out the percentage. And I just never got an answer. And that question went on through the whole year. And the last thing I want to bring up is the question of whether it's inherently beneficial to Holmdel. The expert planner, his name was Mr. Vantinkoy, stated that this plan was inherently beneficial to the residents of Holmdel. He said under the MLUL law, Municipal Land Use Law, Criterion B, it poses no detriment to the public good. And I don't even want to go into all the reasons. I think you've heard them tonight. There were issues of, we're unsure of the emissions that are coming out of the smokestacks, the safety issues, the lower property values of the people who live across the street and the farm, the noise disturbance to the neighbors. Those are all detriments, I think, to the public good. Thank you for listening.
Scott Goldstein.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to voice our concerns. We've got a great community here. I'm sorry, Scott Goldstein, 24 East Lawn Drive, Goldstein. We have a great community here, highly intelligent people. Most people here have masters and doctorates, very intelligent community, as you can see from the questions brought up. But right off the bat, I think it's a failure, technical failure possibly, by New Jersey Natural Gas and notification. If you look at the public notice, there's only one word in there that gave us a clue of what was going on. The word was regulator. That was it. They talked about the variances they needed, but one word, regulator. Up to that point, I'm thinking, what's the big deal? I'm thinking like a regulator on the side of my barbecue. You know, what do they need all this stuff for? Well, we started doing some investigations. We started looking and asking questions. And now we found out that this is not a little thing, okay, which they would like us to believe, that they can just sweep under the carpet, so to speak. This is a huge thing. In fact, by their own testimony, this is a major installation. So right off the bat, they have inadequately notified the public, okay? And that's from the get-go.
If I could just stop you for 1 second, just ask, are you talking about with regard to the public notice for this hearing, or the public notice at the outset of the project at the
The outset of the notice from the planning board.
For,
The zoning.
for the local,
Yes.
not for these proceedings?
Not here.
Okay.
Okay? We actually have very good organizations here in town, and we try to get the word out as far as what's going on to notify the public. But from the get-go, that was the only word that gave you a clue of what's going on. Regulator. Not 3 stacks, not the number of BTUs that this stuff is going to be putting out, okay? Not any of the technical things that would alert people to what was going on. The fact that they were putting this, okay, in I think it's a county or a state designated scenic byway. It screams off the page. This is not a place for an industrial regulator. This site, okay, would sit on most of our front lawns. That's how close it is to the street. Again, just totally inadequate. If you look around the communities, okay, of how New Jersey Natural Gas does their installations, this is how they do it. They like to put it smack up against the road. Well, that might have worked for the 50s, the 60s, and bygone years. Today, it's a whole new era, and not up to date, okay? We now have soft targets, okay? So what has worked in the past, what they could get by with the past, no longer is adequate for what is reality today. And they haven't gone back to rethink their safety and security. I find this reprehensible, personally, okay? We see what's going on in Nice, okay? We see what's going on in New York City with people driving off the road. This is a disaster waiting to happen, okay? When you take it a step further, they kept on referring to the fact that they were putting in these fences and they're filled with concrete and they're going to put them close together. With all the experts they bring in, they failed to bring in an expert in vehicle impact of an immovable object. I don't know what you call that engineer, whether that's a physicist, okay, or whether that's a civil engineer, okay, but just stand in front of us and say, well, we're just going to fill this concrete and put them close together. Well, I'm an engineer. I could do the analysis. They didn't. They failed again to protect the public. And again, they continue to kind of react to this. Every time we brought up issues, they went back and readdressed it. So from the beginning, they're a moving target. What they proposed initially is not what we ended up at the end. Okay? Another case in point, we brought up the sound study because we went over and videotaped an active regulator station, which is of significantly smaller size than what they're proposing here. Okay? On a standard video equipment, you could hear this thing scream. Okay? And it wasn't doctored, it's just, you walked up, you could hear it. If you have to live across the street or pass by it, and I happen to ride my bike past that, that's going to be really out of place for our community. Okay? In addition, the sound engineers that they brought in, they did their study. Okay? They failed to recognize that the solar panels, okay, move. How can they do a study when you've got 13 acres of hard surfaces that are going to change location during the day? They only did snapshots at a specific period of time. They didn't do 24-hour studies. They didn't do it over different seasons. Anybody here knows you go walking out in the wintertime, your voice carries. So what might work and meet the standard in their ideal situation doesn't meet the standard when I walk out my front door in the cold of winter and all of a sudden I'm hearing this thing screaming from 2 miles away. Safety impact. We talked about soft top targets, okay? We also want to talk about the department. They kept on referring to the Department of Safety for guardrails. We all know that it's not adequate. We know cars take it out. You put a medium-sized truck of 100,000 tons gross weight there, okay? That'll go right through this, okay? In fact, what they've designed is a nice launching ramp to get this vehicle up in the air so they can land it on really good. Then I looked into the national database, okay? I was floored. There's a database of gas line failures, okay? Now, we all might remember the one up in Woodbridge, okay? It burnt multiple buildings. I don't remember how many fatalities there were. It burnt for days. Why did it burn for days? Because they don't design a fail-safe system. They have no valves. The only way they can deal with it is they let it burn out. But meanwhile, people's cars, people's homes, okay, and everything of that is lost, okay? That is a major impact to the community here. So again, when they refer to a federal standard, doesn't impress me. Doesn't meet the requirement of what's going on in today's political environment. Okay, as you heard about the deer, what you don't hear about the deer fatalities that have happened right at the site, I think there have been at least 2 fatalities there for people trying to veer off the road to miss the deer. Okay, so it's just what history is in that area. Okay. I actually did speak, and I was also founded on an issue of real estate. I am not a real estate person, but I did refer to a local real estate person to run the numbers for me. Okay, the impact just the local property owners on Hopbrook. That's not taking in all the other surrounding communities. That's not taking in the farm. That's not taking in the cost to commercial properties of both north and south of this property. It's going to hit the Holmdel revenues in hundreds of thousands of dollars of lost taxes. Well, that means that the rest of us get to pick up that shortcoming, because those homes will get reevaluated and won't have to pay as much taxes. And mind you, the homeowners and the old property owners there are not being compensated. Their values will probably go down the toilet. Excuse the French. As someone else has already pointed out, we have had a fire company that was down the road. That fire company no longer exists. Our closest operable fire company is 20 minutes away. The reason why I know that is because I live on this side of town, and I actually Google mapped it, okay? And I'm not very happy with the situation, but that's what it is. Then you take a step further, and you find out that our local fire companies, not only Holmdel, but the surrounding communities we get mutual aid from, are not equipped to handle a fire of this size and character, okay? You don't put it out with water, okay? You need special chemicals. None of these communities' equipment trucks are equipped with the volumes of chemicals you need to fight a fire like this. But let's say they did have the chemicals. Well, again, this is the watershed for over 300,000 people, and we're going to be putting that into our ground, and it's going to be coming out of our faucets, okay? Not a nice scenario here. The other thing that I really had an issue with, because I find that a lot of their testimony was self-imposed problems they've created. They chose to put in a high pressure line, okay? It wasn't for Holmdel, because we've been operating just fine, okay? The ice, okay, is a problem. That's why they have to put in this bigger station. Well, by their own testimony, their systems are redundant, okay? Well, let me just spell this out very simply. If one freezes, okay, they shut that one down and they let it thaw when they go back to go over to the second one. Kind of like an old refrigerator. If it freezes, you shut it down, you use another refrigerator. Okay? If it was really a problem, put a third one in, so you got the 2 of them thawing as the other one is operational. Again, don't need a big stacks and heaters to do this. They could have also looked at other types of technology to supply energy. There's a solar fund. They could have done this with electricity. Okay? You got 13 acres right behind them. Okay? One thing that's really interesting, you had one of the residents on 2 Hopbrook. She runs a completely solar house. She has solar panels, and she has geothermic heat for her house. What a contrast. We're going to put in a gas regulator station, which is really not needed here at Holmdel, and I don't even think it's really needed in many of the communities, because they've never proved that point to us, okay? With a house that doesn't use any of this gas. So as the technology is changing, our need for gas is probably going to get reduced, not more. The reason why they want to do this, okay, why they want to have this site here, is because of the prospects of possibly shipping this gas, once it's liquefied, over to Europe. Well, liquid gas goes for 8 times as much. And as we've seen with the president, he'll write executive orders to open up commerce to do this. Right now it's illegal to sell gas overseas. So they're staging for something bigger, and that's why they're willing to parade all these people here to try to put this in here, because it would be a good place for them to have a location where they can expand and put compressors in there and to liquefy gas. Not for our benefit, not for the benefit of anybody here in Monmouth County. Just to sum it up, I agree with all the testimony of my fellow residents. I don't think that this installation is inherently beneficial to Holmdel and Holmdel residents. In fact, I think it's detrimental. Thank you.
That brings me to the end of the list that that brings me to the end of the list that I have. I don't know if there have been any additional sign-ins in the time since we've gotten here. I'm being told no. So with that, is there anyone wishing to speak who has not signed in, has not yet spoken at this time, who wishes to speak? And I saw at least 2 hands from people who have already spoken, now a third. Again, if you, presuming that it's something new, again, I'm not in the habit of limiting, I'm here to hear everybody out. Obviously, just want to reassure you that anything that has been said is already a part of the record of these proceedings. But obviously, if at this time, since there are no new sign-ins and no one wishing to add, I believe I saw Mr. Yanello's hand first.
I'll be really brief. James Yanello, Y-A-N-N. There's only so much I could remember to get in those 8 pages. 2 quick points that I think you really need to consider. There has been the mention of some deaths in that area. From what I recall, isn't there like a monument to someone who died there right on that property?
There are
2. 2? Okay, so there's, I mean, so if you think we're just being NIMBY people, which we're not, there's 2 people died on that property and there's monuments to them. So please, that needs to go on the record. The other thing that needs to go on the record, which is related to this secrecy about the easement agreement and OCI Solar and the Korean company that really could care less what happens on this property, is when this application was going along and Tesla started doing all their solar battery backup wall stuff, OCI Solar, or Cornerstone, the name keeps changing, which in and of itself is worrisome. It's changed about 3 times over the past few years. That's another subject. They put an application before the Holmdel Zoning Board to put battery walls right behind where this complex would be. Literally right behind batteries. And we know how batteries can be. When the very smart Holmdel citizens made it very clear to New Jersey Natural Gas and OCI Solar that you're not just going to run this sham right through us, because quite honestly, the testimony is quite concerning and inconsistent, and it started getting really heated. Interestingly, OCI Solar pulled those plans for the battery walls that would be right behind this facility. So I can't overemphasize what everyone has said. This facility there is bad news. On countless grounds, the company has not in any way, shape, and form proved that it's definitely necessary there, definitely necessary for Holmdel. They have inert regulators that do the job 99% of the time. It's absurd for them to consider putting that there, and whatever else may go there, including battery walls and other concerns we have. Thank you.
NJNG,
when I read it, it all sounded very monotone. I just want to emphasize this point. There are 3 current regulators, 2 of which are fed by an old transmission line, which is under low pressure. That's why there's no icing on those. So 2/3, if one divides it up proportionately, 2/3 of Holmdel is already served without any problems. They can use the existing old transmission line, which is what they're doing right now. So we're only talking about that one regulator on Vonage property. Okay. So the scale of the problem is much lower, and people have suggested redundant units, heating with electricity, putting... There are other engineering solutions to solve a smaller problem, rather than this massive gas regulator. I just want to emphasize that people understand that. It's not that not all three regulators are running on the high pressure. There are two of them running on the low pressure line. So that's why there's no issue with them. And it's only one of the regulators that's an issue. And when I say an issue, it does ice, and we've not had a shutdown yet. Okay, so I just want to mitigate it. It's not an overwhelmingly big issue. It is an issue. And there should be simple engineering solutions to that one much smaller problem.
Correct.
Janet Nisi, 700 Square Lane, Holmdel, New Jersey. Something Carol Bomber said made me want to comment. It's about the zoning board. I had never been to a zoning board meeting before, and I saw these 7 interested people. They were there every month, and they asked a lot of questions. They listened intently. Just from an observation, they were really trying to do the right thing for New Jersey Natural Gas as well as Holmdel. And you could see it in their eyes as they were, the types of questions which were, can you move it back further? Can you do this? Can you do that? What else can you do? In the end, when they voted, 6 out of 7 voted to reject this proposal, and 1 voted for it. The ones who voted to reject the proposal, they were feeling bad because they felt that they were letting New Jersey Natural Gas down, but they felt they had a responsibility to the Holmdel citizens. They heard what we had to say, they drove by there, they had the same concerns that we did. And they felt New Jersey Natural Gas did not answer all their questions. So I just want to let you know, the zoning board, I thought, did a great job asking for all kinds of information. And when we requested stuff, they made sure that New Jersey Natural Gas came back the next month with information as well. So I was very pleased at how much time they spent hearing our concerns, as well as hearing the testimony of the experts from New Jersey Natural Gas.
Anybody else? Yes, Ms. Ball?
Okay, I agree with Janet. The zoning board did do a good job. But they did have one problem that really, an omission that was glaring, and the lack of an environmental impact statement. And we need that. Before any decision is made by the BPU, we need an environmental impact statement, and we need it from an objective party. That's definite. There's no doubt about that. The other thing I wanted to mention is I don't know if Falguni Patel mentioned with her health concerns and her testimony towards health concerns, she is a respected physician in our community. So I think she has a lot of credibility, and she should be given that credibility. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? I want to thank everyone for their time this evening, for their patience, and certainly for the effort put forward. I know all the parties were here to listen and hear the comments that were being presented by all of you, and I want to thank everyone for that. Obviously, it's a matter of concern here in the public, and I just think this is a very well-handled proceeding by everyone. I do appreciate all of your efforts today to make sure that your voices were heard. As I indicated, this is part of an overall proceeding that is being conducted in accordance with the Administrative Procedures Act. We are scheduled to have the evidentiary hearing on this matter July 13th at the Office of Administrative Law in Quaker Bridge, New Jersey. July 13th at 9:30 a.m. That is an open meeting. The public is invited to attend. It's not a public hearing, it's just a hearing room. I don't want to, but it certainly is an open proceeding. Yes?
Just a procedural question.
Yes, sir.
There was mention made that various parties may be making filings. New Jersey Natural Gas may be responding to the Rate Council's request for documentation. At what point, where, and when, and how can the public see some of those documents?
Again, if any of the parties wish to supplement or add anything, but my role here again is to take public comment. My involvement, and again, it's not always and sometimes not even often that the seating judge is the one who is here. To the extent that I'm overseeing these procedures, I invite and am required to have public comment, but it is a matter of litigation that involves the parties, who include, by the way, Office of Rate Counsel and your town has intervened as well. Certainly, perhaps to the extent they may be able to give you some guidance on some information, certainly to the extent the Office of Administrative Law has public information officers, and
To what extent are any filings that any of the parties made public?
again, that would be any request. When you say there's a lot that comes in, any request for public information is not routed to the administrative law judge. It's routed to the public information officer at the Office of Administrative Law. I deal directly with the parties to the proceeding, and so I understand if that's not a satisfactory answer for you, but that's the answer I have to give.
Are they charged with providing copies?
Again, I'm not the person who makes that determination or who would review any such requests.
I'm not a lawyer, but in a more standard court proceeding.
Ralph, identify yourself as well.
Okay.
Sure.
Ralph Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. BLUMENTHAL. Just trying to understand the process. As I understand a civil litigation, court filings are public documents, and through an appropriate public records request can be obtained. Is the same true here? How does the public get information of various things that are happening?
Again,
That's what we're trying
as I
to
said, public information requests, Oprah requests, they are not routed to me directly. As the judge overseeing the litigation, I am involved and interact directly with the parties. Any public information request, whatever the understanding may be, even in any litigation where certain filings are public, there may be certain items that are not subject to it. Any request is reviewed by that public information officer, and they will make that determination. That's not a determination I'm empowered or authorized to make. And I apologize for not having, but the Office of Administrative Law, the administrator is a public, request a public
Thank you.
information officer and direct request.
I don't know if the others would care to comment. Are there final documents public?
Our documents, you can make a Freedom of Information Act over request with the Board of Public Utilities to obtain the documents, or you can go through your counsel.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I would note, I can't speak to the OAL's procedure. I would imagine the petition is a matter of public record because it's a formal filing. There's other documentation that's going back and forth between the parties that would not be a formal filing unless it's admitted into evidence, which, would happen before the judge, and at that point, I would imagine it would be in the public record, which is kind of what you're asking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. How do we learn?
So, just
that?
like your comments tonight are being offered into the record, I think what you're asking is future evidence, which would be offered at the evidentiary hearing, and at that point, it would be in the record.
Thank you, Mike.
What happens at the evidentiary hearing? What's the process? What happens?
The parties who are formally attached to the litigation, including the petitioner, the Division of Rate Counsel, board staff, and the township as an intervener, they will present the cases as they see fit. There will be witnesses that will be called, there will be testimony presented, there will be cross-examination and rebuttal. It's a formal hearing where evidence is entered and testimony is taken, as with any other litigation proceeding.
And the decision is made by the judge.
As I said earlier, an initial, after everything has been entered in evidence and the record has been closed, there may be post-hearing legal arguments or briefs submitted, and the administrative law judge renders what is called an initial decision. The initial decision, along with the complete record of the proceedings, the documents and evidence, the complete record is forwarded to the Board of Public Utilities, who in turn will conduct its own review of that record and make its own final determination that they can accept, reject, or modify, or even return for further fact-finding from me.
Okay, I have a question. Which comes first? Your decision or the evidentiary hearing?
The hearing,
The hearing comes first.
yes.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean
This
the hearing.
would-
I didn't mean the hearing, I meant evidentiary.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
No, I'm not going to render a decision without hearing the evidence.
Okay, thank you.
I promise.
How long can this all take?
I just want to, again, the purpose of the hearing is to take public comment. You know, perhaps at the conclusion, if there are some procedural questions, or at the very least, if, to the extent that we have a court reporter here, if you are going to be asking a question, I will ask that you say your name first, just so that the record is.
Jenny Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. My question is, how long can all of these hearings take before we get a final decision? And can the gas company appeal the decision if they don't like what they hear, or can the town appeal it? Or is it absolutely cast in concrete when the BPU gives its final decision?
Again, every case has its own lifetime. Right now, we are only scheduled for an initial evidentiary hearing date. There is no guarantee that that will be the only date that is required, although I assume that's the anticipation, since that's all that's been asked. At that time, we wait for transcripts, we wait for submissions. Ultimately, there's an initial 45-day period in which to render an initial decision, unless the volume, the size, the workload requires an extension, which is always a possibility. Once it is then forwarded to the Board of Public Utilities, they too are given a time period within which to render their final decision, again, potentially subject to extension as well. To conclude is once that's the final administrative decision. However, unless there are rules of special application that I'm not aware of, any final agency decision can be appealed to the appellate division of the Superior Court. And any parties to the proceeding that feel they were adversely, were dissatisfied with the outcome, may file some sort of.
And another question that is still hanging above us is, what is the cost of all of this regulator that they are proposing? Is the regulator as currently proposed on Holmdel Road the choice because it's cheaper than putting it in place A or place B or place C? Apparently this has never been answered in the past, and I suppose in due course, despite the comments earlier, that it will filter down to all of us sitting in the room, except Dr. Patel, who doesn't use gas. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? And again, I want to thank you all for your time this evening and your patience.
Thank you.